Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. This is the Rooted Wife podcast. And today I really wanted to hone in and talk about children. And children in terms of society, our own children, the children that are going to be growing up alongside our own, and what that means in terms of their future impact on society, and how they are going to make their imprint on this earth. And I wanted to talk about it because we can all very clearly see what is going on right now in this societal culture of pushing without question mark non-binary and transgender ideology in children, as well as hormone blockers in children and surgeries. And I want to talk about it because all of these terms are very medical, and they're very soft because they don't explain what it actually is. And I'll go into detail a little bit about all of the different areas and what's going on right now in school systems and just in culture in general. So with our children right now, there are 16-year-olds who are having cosmetic surgery where they are having both of their breasts removed. They are being put on hormone and puberty blockers at 12 years of age. So much so that you can order them online. You can walk into one appointment and walk out with them. In the United States, in Canada, this is going on, guys. This is not a foreign concept that we see online. And I think sometimes we can disconnect because maybe it's not in our personal circles and we see the stuff online. So there's this disconnect of reality, but it's really happening. It's happening in your cities. It's happening in your schools. Especially if your children are in the public school system. And this is very harmful and this is very dangerous. And quite frankly, I don't feel like enough people are speaking up about this because there is this wave of cancel culture and so many people make their livelihood online. And so many people are indoctrinated with this concept that they can't speak out against blatant things that are wrong, such as putting children on hormone blockers. And the reality of what that is you cannot stop a human body. This is natural biology. And it's unfortunate that a large portion of society doesn't understand this, the basics of this, which is there are only two genders. There's female biology and anatomy, and there is the male biology, structure, and anatomy. And that's it. That's all there's ever been. since the beginning. And you can't start playing around and tinkering around with children and stopping the process of their birth gender biology with hormones. Your body goes through a cycle for a reason, whether you're female or you're male. That's what puberty is. It's the development of your human structure in that sex. And so when you start tinkering around and you start altering hormones and you start altering all of it, like, hormones work everything. Hormones are in our brain. They're everywhere. They're in our gut. We produce them. We have certain levels of them. If certain levels are off, like, it throws the body off. And that's just naturally. Much less if you're going to take a child and start tinkering around like they're a science experiment. And this is just the blatant truth. And it's getting to the point where, like, the adults of society need to really start diving into all of the crevices of these areas and start saying, no, this is wrong. You're not experimenting on children. And quite frankly, if people truly understood what transgenderism was, it's a psychological dysphoria, which means the thoughts inside of the person's mind is telling them that they are aligning with a certain gender. Okay? Now that tells us that their thoughts surrounding what that means, what the image looks like to be a certain sex, is distorted. So why aren't we diving into that? Because it's not the same system. Biology is not the same. Your biological sex is not the same system that your psychological brain and your thoughts run on, right? Because your thoughts are determined on your perception of the world and the experiences that you go through and the messaging that you get through crucial moments of development, environmental, all of it. And so we can't negate all of those different areas and the effects that they have on a child's brain and say, oh, they feel like a boy. Well, you know what? When I was growing up, it's uncomfortable. Everyone has been uncomfortable going through puberty. You want to know why I was specifically uncomfortable? Because there was a societal image of sexualization of women, and quite frankly, it just didn't feel in alignment. And I kind of wanted to repel against that. And then you start to think like, oh, maybe I don't want to be like a woman. I'm getting breasts. Like, I don't want to be sexualized, or I don't want to have this image of being this, you know what I mean? and you kind of like pull back from it. So then maybe you're a bit more of a tomboy, or maybe you're this, or maybe you're that. But it's like those have nothing, your interests and the things that you gravitate to have nothing to do with your biological sex. You can like anything. You can want to be interested in multiple different areas and facets of life. None of that is not, one is not dependent on the other. They're two separate different things. But society has literally played mind games with people and built images around and given personality traits around certain imaging through movies, through actors, through portrayals of different types of family structures. And watching that stuff over and over and over again gives people certain perceptions. And those perceptions hinder the choices and decisions that they make in the world. And so if the messaging is corrupt and it's rooted with, quite frankly, malice and evil intent, which is what it is. Do you know how much money, the amount of money Big Pharma, all of it, make off of one transgender child throughout a lifetime if they were to put them on hormone and puberty blockers? Because it's not reversible either. That means that they're on these things for life after a certain point. Certain things don't come back after a certain point and a certain amount of alteration. Breast removal, I mean, come on, at 16. This is more than just, this is humanity. This is the next generations. Do you know how many children will not be able to reproduce because of this? And whether it's your child that's facing this, or your family that's facing this, or you know someone that's facing this, or you're affected by it, or whatever, it will affect our children. Because we all affect each other. And I think it's really easy to just live on autopilot. But why are we here? You know what I mean? Like, why do you even feel pulled in certain areas of, right? I'm sure you've had moments where you've seen things or you've read certain things and you're just like, what in the world is going on? Like, what is happening? Is anybody going to do something about this? Are we just going to allow this to happen? What can I do? It starts with, speaking up in your communities, even just in your personal relationships. Ensuring that you're rooting your children in true identity, not this identity of the world that's literally confusing people. I mean, it is such an unbelievable disservice to these children. What a letdown. And you know what? Like, whenever I'm talking, I'm not even casting judgment on us humans. You know what I mean? I'm casting judgment on the orchestrated evil that is behind this, that is and has indoctrinated parents to believe that they are doing the loving thing by co-signing on this stuff and consenting for their children to have these things done to them. Because I truly believe that these parents, at the end of the day, some of them want their children's best interest at heart. And I also believe that a lot of these parents are in extreme amounts of pain themselves, and unfortunately their children are becoming collateral damage to their judgment, to their parents' judgment, or lack thereof. And we can't control what obviously parents want to do with their own children, right? Like, we would not want to be controlled with what we do with our own children. However, we also can't sit idle in the midst of blatant wrong and evil, especially when you know the agenda that is behind all of this. And at the end of the day, I firmly believe that God is moving, and he's shining the light everywhere, across the entire world. And all of these people are going to fall eventually who have done this. But we are ultimately still here, and we're going to be we have our whole lives still here. You know what I mean? The world isn't ending. It's being restored. So what does that mean for us? Well, it means what I've been talking about, and that is ensuring that we are not allowing this to go untalked about, that we are not being silenced and pushed into submission in the face of blatant wrong. It is our job as humans, quite frankly, and humanity, to ensure a level of protected, and we do have a level of responsibility to each other and to the future generations and to God, our Creator. And so let's be intentional. Be rooted in the Word of God and His law. Because this surface level world that we are having to operate in, and that we are watching, and that we are viewing on mainstream media and through these celebrities and all of this circus, honestly, it's like a circus show. We need to remain knowing in the truth, and that all of that is truly a facade, right? And it's a facade that doesn't affect the actors, but it affects us in real time, in real life. And we can be intentional. We truly can. We can be intentional. We can speak up. We can hold doctors accountable. We can hold school boards accountable who are trying to push unbelievably inappropriate material in schools, in elementary schools, in kindergarten, by the way, in BC. It's happening in Canada already. And it's not okay. And it's not okay. And we have the ability to be intentional and get involved because we have to. Because we have children, and if we don't, you might in the future. You might have nieces, nephews, cousins, best friends. So I just really don't want to sit. I really didn't want to sit on this matter anymore. It needs to be bluntly talked about. It is our duty to protect the most vulnerable of society, and that is our children. That is our children. That is my children. That is your children. And that is children that we don't even know. Because at one point in time, there was a generation that protected ours. So blessed be rooted in God. Be rooted in the knowing. And I mean, God wins in the end. He already has. Right? But there's also a tangibility aspect for us to have it here on earth and to build it into the world that we want, the world that we want to live in. All right, guys. Anyways, I love y'all. And God bless our children, and God bless their futures.